Amtrak was running out of time. Their passenger locomotives were collapsing so fast that Congress openly questioned whether American passenger rail should even exist. What Amtrak got wasn't just a new locomotive. It was a machine so reliable it ran for 3 decades. So tough it survived being torn apart at 87 miles per hour. But if it saved passenger rail, why is Amtrak now stripping them of power? To understand that, you have to see how close everything came to falling apart. The early 1990s were brutal. Amtrak's backbone, the F40 fleet, was dying. Built in the late 1970s, these locomotives were never designed for modern passenger loads. To keep lights and air conditioning running, the engines screamed at full throttle, even while standing still. Breakdowns became routine. Locomotives overheated in major terminals. Passengers sat trapped in hot cars as delays stretched into hours. By 1995, Amtrak recorded over 2,000 mechanical failures in a single summer. Maintenance crews cannibalized dead units just to keep others moving. This wasn't bad service. This was a system on the verge of collapse. Inside Amtrak headquarters, the message was clear. One bad winter could shut the entire railroad down. Under President Tom Downs, executives issued a survival order. Build a locomotive that could do everything the F40 could not. It had to be powerful, reliable for decades, able to provide massive onboard power without destroying itself. No experiments, no excuses. Then GE Transportation made a bold proposal, a clean-sheet passenger locomotive built from proven freight technology. They called it P42 Genesis. And with that decision, Amtrak placed its entire future on one machine.
At GE's plant in Erie, Pennsylvania, engineers saw what others missed. While competitors treated passenger locomotives as delicate machines, General Electric Transportation chose a different path: brute reliability. Instead of reinventing the wheel, GE adapted its proven -8 freight technology. The failure of the old F40 wasn't age alone, it was philosophy. One engine was asked to both pull the train and power the passengers. It was always fighting itself. GE ended the compromise. The Genesis used a massive EMD 16710 engine, producing over 4,200 horsepower. 4,000 went to traction. 800 kilowatts powered the passenger cars, separately. No strain, no drama, just capacity. Microprocessor controls constantly adjusted power, temperature, and emissions. This wasn't just a locomotive, it was a computer on rails. When the Genesis appeared, it looked nothing like Amtrak's past. A sleek, aerodynamic nose, a monocoque carbody where the shell carried the load. Its most radical feature was invisible, an integrated fuel tank built inside the frame, armored in thick steel, and raised above the rails. In crashes, it wouldn't rupture. That decision would later save lives. Inside the cab, engineers faced screens instead of gauges. The locomotive knew problems before humans did. Maintenance crews loved it. Freight common parts meant faster repairs, fewer failures, and less downtime. Then came real service. Genesis-powered trains ran 3 times farther between inspections. Availability jumped to 95%. Delays vanished. During blizzards, a single P42 Genesis hauled double-length trains through snow without effort. And in crashes, some at highway speeds, the structure held. Fuel stayed contained. Fire never came. Critics were silenced. The Genesis didn't just solve Amtrak's crisis, it dragged American passenger rail back from the brink, and proved that sometimes, the strongest solution is simply building something that refuses to break.
For all its strength, the Genesis had a weakness, and engineers built it in on purpose. The P42 Genesis accelerates slowly, not because it lacks power, but because GE told it to hold back. Hard acceleration creates dirty exhaust. In the 1990s, emissions laws were tightening fast, so General Electric Transportation softened the throttle response through software. Power ramps up gradually, cleaner air, less stress, longer life. The trade-off was obvious. On heavy grades, a single P42 felt sluggish. Engineers learned to double-head trains or simply wait for speed to build. Passengers felt the smoothness, but also the restraint. What they didn't see was the computer quietly sacrificing performance to keep the locomotive compliant. That decision would later seal its fate. By the late 2010s, the Genesis was aging out. Parts were harder to find, mechanics were retiring, and emission standards had jumped to Tier 4. Amtrak turned to the Siemens Charger, ordering its own version, the ALC-42. But the transition wasn't clean. In 2022, a Charger suffered a software failure on its debut run, so Amtrak did the unthinkable. They put an old Genesis back in front. The train ran anyway, because the old machine still worked. Rather than scrap them, Amtrak gave the Genesis a second life. Retired units were converted into cab cars, still leading trains just without engines. For nearly 30 years, the Genesis was Amtrak. It survived crashes, blizzards, and political pressure. It didn't just pull trains, it kept passenger rail alive. Now, as new locomotives take over, one question remains. Will the next generation last 3 decades like the Genesis did? Because progress is easy to design. Reliability is something else entirely.